Save changes. What is up? It's your boy Sterls. It's us again. And Rob, how you doing? This is Intentional Grounding Podcast, week 2. Week 2. We are doing the damn thing once again. It feels good. It feels good to kind of get back into the swing of things, you know? How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I think it feels great. I watched a couple other podcasts and had let's just say the content creators begrudgingly complain about covering the preseason, and I was like, I couldn't feel more differently. Went back and watched the all 22, flipping around watching these other games. I mean, I'm all about it. I'm here. Let's go.
Yeah, I got to watch a little all 22, and I mean, albeit it was a 9-3 game.
And you hate it too.
I definitely hate it. I mean, I'm not even going to cap. Oh, man. But wherever you are listening, whether you're at home or over in the pond, across the way to our friends internationally, welcome to Intentional Grounding. This show is with Rob and myself, and we will be breaking down all things NFL, all things Bills right here on this podcast all season long. On today's episode, man, we're going to talk. Obviously, we're going to recap the Bills win against the Steelers 9-3, but there are some major newsworthy bullet points, I'd say, from the game that we got to hit on, and plus there's some NFL stuff. I feel like for a preseason week 2, there's some storylines like Jamar Chase we're going to talk about. Brandon, I mean, I guess it's wide receiver centric, but Tua had some stuff to say about Brian Flores. So make sure you buckle up, man, because we're going to be talking about a whole lot of stuff tonight. So shall we dig into this thing or what?
Yeah, man. NFL's hot right now. I'm ready for it. Let's go.
All right, so let's do our game recap part of the show where we kind of dig in, talk about some things that maybe we have learned from watching the Bills win against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I know a lot of us had some. I know I had some concerns going into this game. Now, again, it is preseason, so we're looking at it from a different lens than we would if it was regular season week 1 against the Cardinals, but there's still some takeaways and things to be excited about from this game. Let's start off with you, Rob. What stood out to you, or is there anything that you want to hit on before we get into some of these bullet points?
I mean, I think the thing that I want to hit on most is I think there's good play, and I think you can take something away from that, right? Whether it's guys who got limited snaps who played really well, or guys who got a lot of snaps who played really well, and you want to say, oh, it was against backups or whatever. I do think that if you watch the tape, there's some worthwhile things that you can pull from that game, despite the fact that it's preseason, and not the least of which that team responded, dog. I mean, it looked like that defense looked like a team that got ripped all freaking week in the film room and on the practice field for giving up 33 points to the Bears, preseason or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
And they came out, they responded, man. And so, like McDermott said last week, doesn't matter who's wearing the colors, we got a standard. I was good to see, I think.
Yeah, it was good to see. I mean, I think we're looking at it felt like a totally different team than what we saw week 1. I mean, week 1, we don't even need to go into much detail, but this is the squad that they just looked out of wits, out of sorts. I mean, just rusty on all accounts. And, when you look at the standard in which, Sean McDermott and these guys have for themselves, I'm pretty sure they walked away last week thinking, okay, like that totally was not our best foot forward. I mean, the starters, one thing, Josh Allen played very sparingly, but you got guys at second and third team that are competing for spots or even just competing for a roster spot did not have a good showing. So I think one of the things that we talked about last week was the defensive line, and Greg Rousseau, man, did he stand out. Greg Rousseau was just simply dominant. He logged 2 sacks in 2 series. I mean, he listen, if this is the Greg Rousseau coming out party, I'm here for it, man. He
Well,
looked dominant.
we talked last week about how the defensive line as a whole and him in specific, I mean, you're going to need the best effort from them when you go through this roster and through the playmakers and so on and so forth. You know, we were having this talk about Ed Oliver a couple years ago, where you would say, listen, man, you're a highly drafted player. You are about to sign a big deal, or you have just signed a big deal. Now we need you to perform like that on a week in, week out basis. And you're kind of in the same spot with Rousseau now. And what I liked about it is you didn't just see the old fashioned way that he used to dominate. There was a little bit of power in that game too. I don't know if you went back and watched those sacks, but I mean, he just threw, I think it was an offensive guard, but it was just,
that was Broderick Jones.
Yep. And he just got right underneath
doll.
his arm. And I mean, I've seen Von Miller do that to people before, but you don't normally move guys that size that easily. And I mean, it was impressive. It was impressive, and it was impressive that he did it that way.
I mean, you're talking about Broderick Jones, who's 6'5", 311 pounds. Now, so we're not talking about an undersized or very extremely tall, slender offensive tackle. I mean, this guy, he has great size for the position, and what happened to him from Greg Rousseau was just simply amazing. I mean, you talk about converting, speed to power. I mean, his bull rush that he leveraged on him was, I mean, he had no answer for it. None.
Threw him like a rag doll. And his other rush was good too, man. I mean, it was another kind of speed to power type move where he gets him and just gets him a little bit back on his heels and is able then to come underneath and get the sack on Russell Wilson. I mean, I thought he was great all game. So, and he only played a limited number of snaps. Same thing with Taron Johnson, only played a limited number of snaps. Don't lose how great these guys are. I mean, Taron Johnson made 4 or 5 real good plays in 10 snaps. You know what I mean? So, and I saw Mina Kimes tweeting about him, and it's just, I just like to point out, I know it's a limited number of snaps, but that's what you hope that you see in the regular season.
Yeah, I mean, you go back to that first sack, you saw Rousseau coming off the edge, and you take a quick snapshot, like Broderick Jones gets into a stance, he moved outside, he had, it appeared to be good leverage, but he took his outside hand to try to put it on Rousseau's inside shoulder, and Rousseau just tossed him to the side and sacked Russell Wilson on third down. And I'm like, okay, this is I was like, okay, maybe, I was thinking maybe, something went wrong here, whatever. And then he just did it again and again. And I'm like, dang, Rousseau.
Yeah. And mind you, not that they're setting protections for a specific guy, but It was Epinesa on the other side. It's not like there's Von Miller on the other side and he's getting, whatever scrub. You know what I mean? It's not like they're running protection to the other side is kind of what I'm saying. You know what I mean?
Right.
He just dominated, and yes, it was one-on-one, but that's what you need him to do during the regular season. If Von Miller's taking on 2 guys on the other side, or Ed Oliver's taking on 2 guys in the middle, you need him to win a one-on-one. So that's why I feel like I said, there's things that you can take from it that you hope translate to the regular season.
Yeah, and back to Broderick Jones. I mean, this is a guy out of Georgia, second-year player, who he was kind of heralded for his power, his strength at the point of attack, and
because he's a house.
He's a house. And so the second sack, I'm pretty sure Rousseau took, he had outside leverage and then just completely crossed the face of Broderick Jones, went inside and got another sack. I mean, it's for someone like Rousseau, where we talk about, if you were to have a knock on him, you would say, okay, I would like for him to maybe add some variety in terms of his attack and his pass rush moves. But when you look at the all 22, you kind of saw him kind of empty the tank a little bit. You kind of got to see some diversity in his attack method. I thought was pretty damn cool.
Yeah. And again, these are things that you don't want to look too much into, right? Because it's preseason. He's not pulling out his best moves, and Jones isn't either. But the pure physical dominance that he showed over a guy who's 100 pounds more than him, maybe.
Right.
You know what I mean? Just the pure physical dominance, the strength to be able to do that. Like you said, the conversion of speed to power. All of that stuff, that's not like, oh, that goes away when he's playing in the regular season. You know what I mean? So I think that is what's super encouraging about it, is it's stuff that was easily transferable that you could see carrying over to the regular season. And listen, maybe he's just grown into that man strength a little bit. You know what I mean? Like these guys, yes, they work out from the time that they're 18, but if anybody has a kid or has coached, you know, a younger age, you know, those guys can have plenty of muscle on them. There's just something different about old man strength.
Yeah. I don't know if you heard
maybe
this,
he's just growing into it now. You know what I mean?
Maybe
all the time of all that working out and everything. It's not that he wasn't strong before, but to ragdoll a 350 pounder like that, you know, maybe he's just grown into his strength a little bit.
I mean, I'm getting excited about this, to be honest. I mean, we saw this at the beginning of last season from Greg Rousseau, where he was just dominant. He was dominant, and then he got a foot injury, and this has kind of been the thing with him. You know, he always seems to find some, some sort of nagging injury that kind of maybe derails his production a little bit. So, hopefully, knock on wood, he stays healthy, and we get to see more of this. But it reminds me of when Braun was first in the league. You know, we used to talk, you know, me and my buddies, we used to talk about, man, he ain't even got his man body yet. Rousseau looks like he's coming into, was he 23 now, 24? Yeah. Coming into his man body. And what that appears to be, I mean, listen, I hope that it continues to be this way, but it's going to be dominant.
He's 24 years old.
24.
He'll be 24 all season long.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that was part of the thing
huge.
The Bills drafted him, is how young he was. You know what I mean? So, you know, this could be a thing. Are we saying it's definitely a thing? We don't know. But it could be a thing. You know what I mean? And I hope it's something he can carry into the regular season and maybe for the rest of his career.
Something that we all should mention, Buffalo's hero right now, Joe Andreessen. Undrafted rookie linebacker out of the University of Buffalo, grew up as a Bills fan, right in their own backyard, was signed as a NFL rookie tryout. As a tryout guy. Like, yo, you at Wegmans, dog? Hey, come on down here and
rookie
see what
tryout
you got.
we need somebody for our draft picks to beat up on for a couple weeks before we get to camp. Come on in. That's what a rookie tryout guy is.
Yeah, you bagging groceries, bro? Come on down. You know, like, we got a little spot for you. You know, it's a feel good story. But listen, I mean, I'll tell you this. You know, I have a couple sources, and I did not. Let's just say, Joe Andreessen was not a name that I heard this past week. Now, what he was able to do, I'm not saying he's going to be a starter. Okay, let's pump the brakes. But if you're talking about a solid depth piece with potential to be more in the future, sign me up all day, man.
Like, let's just separate these two conversations.
Let's not.
I feel like these two conversations are getting mashed together, and everybody wants to rain on the parade here a little bit because they think everybody's too high on the Buffalo kid. Okay, so let's separate the two conversations. Are we incredibly high on him for what he did being a rookie tryout player? Are we rooting for him because he's a Buffalo kid who's wearing this same logo that we wear, and he got to put on the jersey, and his family and his brother, well, I don't know if his whole family did, but I know his brother drove down from Buffalo to watch the preseason game with a couple of his college buddies? I mean, come on. That is a story, and that's one of the things that we're talking about, okay? That doesn't mean that we think he's freaking Luke Kuechly. But what
Right.
we will talk about is what he does offer and what you can possibly get out of him. Because I think there is a spot on the 53-man roster for him. And I definitely think there's a practice squad spot for him. I think the 53 is a little bit of a long shot, but I don't think it's completely out of the question. And when you're talking about this, you're talking about a guy who his recognition has been excellent. If you watch the All 22 and watch when he triggers versus when Dorian Williams triggers,
It's night and day.
there is a whole
Night and
second
day.
difference in between them. Okay. That is elite processing. And if you combine the two of them, you'd have freaking Megatron. You know what I mean? Like that is what you want to see from a linebacker. He activates so quick. And there was more than one time where he beats the guy to the spot, be it an offensive lineman or Justin Fields on a couple plays, just because he diagnoses so quickly. Well, guess what? Even if you put all NFL starters in there, if you can diagnose that quickly, you're still going to be effective. And then the other thing that really impressed me, and we can get into specifics if you want, but
Sure.
the other thing that really impressed me, and like I was never a great player, but I did play linebacker, right? And so that's why I'm extra passionate about this. The biggest thing when you have a guy that's that size, the biggest problem that they have is running into an NFL size offensive lineman, having enough power in their hands to stop that offensive lineman from just taking over their physicality cold, like stacking and shedding is what they call it, and getting off of the block. The kid has so much power in his hands. And again, that is something that translates from preseason to regular season. These were starting offensive linemen that he was getting into and able to stop their progress and get away from them. It was impressive. I don't care if it's preseason, and I don't think it's too much hype to say if he can do that to NFL starters, that yeah, absolutely he could find a spot on your practice squad or maybe even the 53. And I know I'm going on a rant here, Sturls, but the last thing I'll say about it is because then if you're putting him on your 53, he's probably one of your last linebackers on there. And what do you ask your last linebackers to do? Play special teams.
Right.
He showed the ability to run, to move quickly, to tackle in open space. So if you're talking about him making the 53, you say, does he offer anything on special teams? Absolutely, I think he does. Absolutely, I think he does. So I'm sorry I went on a rant there.
No,
Sterling.
listen.
Step away so you can go. But I just don't think people are too excited about him. I think there's a legitimate conversation about if the kid can make the team or not.
Yeah, I mean, if you ask me, I mean, the kid's making the team, but there were some things that he did on Saturday that had me like, okay, that's different. First of all, on the screen, staring a running back down in the alley, stack and shed an offensive lineman, and then going to make the tackle. I'm like, how many times last year did we see the Bills get gouged on screenplays? I think that's something we saw regularly.
And you saw Dorian Williams get either caught up in the wash or unable to get off a block or not read it fast enough. And guess who was there to make the tackle when Dorian Williams couldn't?
Joe Andreessen. And I'm like,
I mean, it's something, dog. It's something.
Impressive. I mean, I think his RAS score, he had like a high 9 or something like that.
It was really good. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he pretty much stonewalled a couple offensive linemen in this game. And, you know, it's a performance that I think if you're watching at home and you say, you know, I'm not really a film guy, I don't watch all 22, take it from those who watch and say, that was impressive. I don't care if it was against ones, twos, threes. That was impressive linebacking play. And the thing that you mentioned the most was instincts. I mean, his, you know, he always was around the ball. Always. And I think, you know, for we could talk about, well, is he much of a matchup linebacker? Well, I don't think they really tested him in coverage, but he did follow Pat Freiermuth, a man-to-man coverage on Saturday. He has the athleticism. So,
But
I
hold
think,
on. I mean, if I could, let's just
yeah,
jump in here, right? Like, because pass coverage may be a problem. Same thing that we're talking about with Dorian Williams, right? That pass coverage could be an issue with him.
I
Hasn't been
don't
something
know.
that we've
I don't
seen him
think
do
so.
well. He's been better. Hasn't been something that we've seen him do
Sure.
well. What happened when we had to put AJ Klein in there?
Roasted.
Okay. So if you have a guy who has the processor, has the quick trigger, is able to read that kind of stuff, and then you just say to Bobby Babich or McDermott, hey, listen, don't put this guy in that situation. That's all. Just don't put Joe Andreessen in a situation where he's got to play Travis Kelce one-on-one. And I think
Yeah.
that's fine for your depth linebacker on the squad. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, I'm a little fired up about it, like I said, because like you either that vision, it's kind of like a quarterback. I don't know that any other position is like it, where you either can see it or you can't. And the guys who can see it are the guys who are going through the hole before the running back gets there.
Yeah.
There was more than one play where
Yeah.
Joe was going through the hole before the running back got there. You either see it or you don't. You know what I mean? And he sees it.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I know he was playing middle linebacker. I think he has the athleticism and wherewithal where he can fill in for Matt Milano.
No,
weak sides.
no, Colt. I'm sorry. we have a comment. We have a comment.
Oh, listen.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
So for those of you who are just listening,
we're not saying. He says, "Can you say Luke Kuechly?" No, I'm not saying, because Luke Kuechly had all the physical tools as well as that recognition. So that's why I started out my rant by saying I'm not saying the kid's Luke Kuechly.
Man.
What I am saying is I think he's worth the 5th linebacker spot on your roster. And honestly, if it was last year where you get down to that guy actually playing in a game versus the Chiefs because you have so many injuries, I actually would have felt a whole lot better about having somebody who has that high of a processor in there and just saying, make the plays that you see. You know what I mean? If you can make the plays that you see, we'll be okay. So I had to stop you for that. I'm sorry.
No, man. Listen, as where it stands right now, I say there's no way if he follows up with another performance that he had on Saturday this weekend, there's no, you have 53. Let's talk about like being the number 2 backup. You know what I'm saying? Like he's got to beat out Deion Jones. Edafon Ulafosio is probably going to get a redshirt year. We'll see.
Yeah, he's redshirted to me.
Nicholas Moreau, who's been injured, Balen Spector, who's always injured. So Joe Andreessen's going to have a role in this team.
I mean, listen, if you want to talk about him, if he puts up another week like he did, because he's going to play the whole freaking game with the injuries. If he puts up another week this week like he did last week, then yeah, I think you can talk about if you want to give him actual snaps. You know what I mean? In the regular season.
So let me ask you a question. I know it's one game, but if I haven't gone and looked at Joe Andreessen's Buffalo tape, but I'm going to do that this week. Okay.
Well, please do. I would love to know what you think of that.
So I am going to take a look at that. However, right now, if I said Balen Spector, Joe Andreessen, who are you taking?
Joe. Easy.
Right.
Easy, because here's the thing. If a guy like Moreau or Spector or we'll talk about Jones later. But those guys, they're injured so much. If you want to cut them and sign them back on the practice squad, guess what? Not a problem. 100% you can do that. If you cut Joe, I'm not 100% sure he doesn't get an offer somewhere else. Now, you could play on the heartstrings and say he's a Buffalo boy. He's not going to take an offer somewhere else. But I'll tell you what, man, if somebody's willing to put him on a 53-man roster.
He better take it. He better take it.
Of course. So, I Listen, I think, especially with how disappointed I've been in their linebacking core, I think he's earned a spot. Um, I would rather have the high processor with the upside of can we get him to an NFL level when it comes to physicality? You know what I mean?
Right.
Which I don't even know if that's a question. Like we said,
I think his
some of the most
physicality
impressive
checks
parts
the
has been
box.
him taking on offensive linemen. So
Yeah, I mean, I think he had what do you have? 17 bench reps. He's pretty strong with 27, somewhere around there. I saw. I may check, see if you can find his relative athletic score, see what he tested in the bench press. But yeah, I don't think strength is not his issue. He could play in space. I think he showed that. I mean, he ran down the Steelers quarterback Justin Fields a couple times. Um, you know, I just don't see how you don't put him on the roster. I mean, you're talking about we had AJ Klein start a playoff game last year. You know, like you put Joe Andreessen in that game. I'm not saying that the outcome would have been different, but AJ Klein got roasted. I don't know if y'all remember that. AJ Klein got simply roasted. So, we say all that to say, the linebacker position is a position of need.
all right,
And
hold on. I'm trying to do it. This is the first time I'm ever doing this. Hold on. Let's see if I can get this in here.
Let's see. All right, here we go. 935 relative athletic score. 32 times on the bench for a linebacker. 32 times, dude. That's impressive.
And when you looked at it, and this was a couple, this is not me pointing it out. Other people realized this on Twitter before I did. But when you look at the comparisons to Terrell Bernard and Matt Milano to a lesser extent and Dorian Williams, like it lines up pretty close. He's not at the same level. Granted, he's not at the same level, but he's not that far off from what their RAS scores were. And he's weak in the same areas that they are. So kind of undersized, a little bit smaller. You know what I mean? But
for the listeners and those who are listening and watching across the pond, read that little excerpt about what it says about Joe Andreessen and his what his RAS score is up at the top there.
He scored a 9.35 RAS out of possible 10. This ranked 184th out of 2,805 linebackers from 1987 until 2024.
I'll take that.
I mean, I'm willing to take a chance on it. You know what I mean? As the fifth linebacker on my roster. Did I pick the right one here, Charles? We good?
Yeah.
I'm willing to take a chance on it as the fifth guy on my roster, and I'm willing to see if I can develop that physicality. Yes, the RAS score is impressive, but like, can I put 10 pounds of muscle on him next year? You know what I mean? Like, can I develop him and his body to get to a spot where you get some of that old man strength, like we were talking about with Brute?
I'm excited that he gets to be under the tutelage of Bobby Babich. I think the work that he's done over the past few years, first with the secondaries, now with the linebackers, Terrell Bernard last year. I think a lot of that you have to give credit to Bobby Babich. So,
well, and
you give him a guy.
If they do it a third time, right? Not just finding the guy, but developing a guy. That's a pretty impressive track record of finding these undersized linebackers that other people, I don't want to say don't want, but you go all the way back to Milano was a 5th round pick.
Yes.
Bernard, a 3rd round pick. Andreessen, rookie tryout.
Undrafted.
I mean, if they have a knack for finding these guys and then, I mean, developing them at least even into NFL players, that's pretty impressive.
It is pretty impressive. All right, so that's the I hope we answered or tickled your fancy in terms of Joe Andreessen, but let's move on, and we'll hit this real quick. Mitch Trubisky, I mean, another bad showing.
Do you want to talk smack about him or do you want to defend him? Because one of us should defend him, and I'm willing to do it, but I don't really believe it.
Why? Okay, first of all, on this show, don't come in here with no BS that you don't believe.
It's
So
not
we're
that I
not
don't
going to
believe it.
defend him.
It's not that I
He is
don't believe
not
it.
defendable. He is not defendable right
I
now.
can defend it. I can defend it.
Because you're.
So go ahead. Then talk smack about him and I'll defend it.
Oh my God.
Go ahead.
Why? He's bad. He's bad. There's one word that comes to mind when I say Mitch Trubisky. It's late.
And that's how
Late.
you can defend him. That's exactly what I was going to say.
Late.
So, but here's the thing. He's not late in the sense that he's not seeing it. He's late in the sense that he, once again, is gun shy.
Yeah.
And if you watch the All 22, you can see him on more than one throw look and go to throw the ball and hesitate and then pat the ball one more time and then throw it. And he did it on that pick that he threw. But like he's gun shy.
Yeah.
And they coached that out of him last time. I'm not saying that they can coach him out of it again, but that's why it's so ugly. Is a combination, I think, of bad offensive line play and him being gun shy. And listen, sometimes when quarterbacks go through that, they're just ruined forever. Like that is just who they are. But
I felt like he had a quicker trigger when he was here with the Bills the first time. He goes to a Matt Canada-led offense, and I don't know if it broke the man, but we make fun of Sam Darnold when he was talking about he was seeing ghosts.
Yep.
I don't know what Trubisky's seeing. I don't know if it's ghost. I don't know if it's the boogeyman. I don't know if it's the postman, but it ain't working. I can't. It gives me strong reservations about him being QB2.
But the thing is, when I see him twitch like that on when he should be throwing it on time, it tells me, one, he knows he should be throwing it then, which is important, right?
Mm-hmm.
He understands. And two, that he has the trigger to do it, right? It's just he's letting. It's like when I think I've told you this analogy before. When you're coming up on a yellow light that's going to turn red, like you have two choices. You either slam on the brakes or you put your foot down and you go. If you just kind of take your foot off the gas and roll through that intersection, you're in way more danger, right? So either put the foot down on the pedal and go or completely stop. And he's kind of getting into this area where he's just kind of rolling through the intersection, throwing the ball late, and it's actually making him look worse and putting him in more danger than if he was to just rip the throw and see what happens. You know what I mean?
Right. We saw that a few times on Saturday, and it's I don't know what the solution is. And unfortunately he's injured for the next 2 to 4 weeks. Right.
Yeah.
So
I mean, they're going to have to find a better solution than what they signed to. What was his name? Anthony Brown or whatever.
Anthony Brown, formerly of the Ravens.
Yeah.
Former Oregon quarterback. So while we're talking about injuries, let's talk about this real quick. The current list of Bills injuries, and I purposely put this in here so for those of you watching this online, you can see this. But for those of you again who aren't watching this as podcast form, let's go over the list of injuries here. Matt Milano, bicep, he's out indefinitely. Mike Edwards, safety, hamstring. Cole Bishop, shoulder. Now, Mike Edwards and Cole Bishop are going to do some light work this week. So we'll see what happens there. DeMar Hamlin comes away with the hamstring. DeMar Hamlin is supposed to be safety, number one. Okay. We know Mitchell Trubisky is out 2 to 4 weeks. Curtis Samuel with a turf toe or I don't know if it's turf toe, but it's toe. He's out. He's week to week. Marquez Valdez-Scantling, neck. Lawrence Keys, someone, wide receiver who's not going to make the roster. Quentin Morris, tight end 3 with the shoulder. Javon Solomon, who I'm growing to love this guy. I think he has a good career in front of him. He's out with the calf. Casey Toohill, who we haven't seen all offseason with a groin. Balin Spector, who's always injured, calf. Nicholas Moreau, core groin, and Austin Johnson, who played late. in the game on Saturday, is out with a calf. So, listen, I know you had some things that you wanted to say in terms of Bills trainers. There's some discord going on about Bills trainers, but the injuries, man, like you talk about, one of the things that is a frustrating and annoying. First of all, let's get this out of the way. This is a violent sport and people get injured. That's just the name of the game. But man, the Bills can't. It feels like the Bills they can't catch a break. They haven't caught a break the last 2 seasons, man. I hope this doesn't turn into injury after injury after injury going into week 1 into the season. So we'll see what happens.
All I'll say is the assertion that the training staff has anything to do with this is absolutely obnoxious. I mean, when you go down the list of some of those injuries, most of them are like weird freak accidents. There's a couple calves on there, a couple hammies, but to say that it's the training staff's fault, they won awards for the facilities that they built, for the people that they hired. They hired away one of the best head trainers in the NFL, if I remember right, from another team. I think it's so silly.
I agree.
To your point, football is a violent sport. This just kind of happens. You got this extra week. I think a lot of people still in the mindset of the old NFL clock, the old NFL calendar. Your last preseason game does not bump up against the regular season. You have a whole week off in there. So if you take the last preseason game off too, you got 3 weeks of time here between now and when you play your first game. That is plenty of time to get people healthy, especially with little nagging things. Curtis Samuel, people saying that turf toe could be healed in 3 weeks. You know what I mean? So I'm not as concerned about it as most people, but it might change, like you said, some things on the 53. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that you don't want to see. Hopefully, these guys can get healthy so they can participate and be available week 1. And we also got to keep in mind too that the Bills typically kind of take their time when it comes to these types of injuries, so whereas, like if it was week 1, some of these guys could probably go, but they're just trying to be precautious. And we got 3 weeks till week 1. So hopefully we'll see some of these guys get a good bill of health, a clean bill of health, if you will, and show up for week 1. Just so you guys know. Oh, you got something real quick?
I feel like you're about to move on, and I want to real quick get to those other things. Even if we just do them as quick hitters, I want to say them to you.
Okay, let's go.
Can I run you down real quick?
Run it down. Okay.
I thought every running back looked good except for James Cook.
First of all, hold on. We weren't skipping all that.
Oh, I didn't know if you were going to around the league. And
no. We still got Bills talk. What I was gonna say, that this show is brought to you by Sports Social Network. This is Europe's largest sports podcast network, over 400 titles to their name. And Intentional Grounding is the new kid on the block. And so this is a new home for us, but this hits a lot of viewers who are overseas, across the pond, as I like to say, as you've heard the term coined, who will be listening to this for the first time, kind of figuring out, their love for the Buffalo Bills and the NFL. So we would say welcome to you. And so continue on, James Cook, the slander that comes out of your mouth.
Welcome. We say Auf Wiedersehen. We say
all the things.
We say, I think Auf Wiedersehen's goodbye. That's probably a bad look for me. All right. So listen, I thought the running backs were incredible. I'm not worried about James Cook. I didn't think he looked great. I don't really care. He's proved it to me in the regular season. Not overly concerned about it. But Davis was hitting holes like an animal. I thought Darrington Evans looked good, which was not something I expected to say. I thought even Frank Gore Jr. looked good. I thought their running backs looked really good. I think that ties right into the other point that I know you wanted to talk about, which was the O-line depth played fantastic football.
Yes, they
I
did.
mean, there were some really inspiring performances there. You got a little smirk on your face because I know you disagree with me. I think we're going to fight about the starting
Nah.
offensive line. But there were plenty of great performances on the depth for the offensive line. Real quick, 15 years ago, I feel like this would have been good offensive line depth. And offensive line play in the NFL has tanked in the last 20 years. So to say that is to say, I think the depth that we have might be one of the best in the league when it comes to offensive line. And I wouldn't be surprised to see Big Baller Bean here flip one of these guys for a late round pick, like a Wyatt Teller type move. Because I think
I don't
they
want to
have
see
been,
that.
I don't think they got enough spots for everybody, dog. Because I think there has been impressive play on the depth offensive line.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about guys like, La'el Collins. I think he had a decent game. I think he had a good game. I Will Clapp, I think he did a good job. Yeah, I mean, you look at and I'm highlighting guard.
I loved Alec Anderson at both positions, both center
He's a
and guard.
stud. I think Alec Anderson, he is going to be an NFL starter one day, I think.
And like, so you're talking about Anderson, who can play center, Clapp, who plays center, and Van Pran-Granger, who you don't have room for all these guys. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So why are you saying you don't think Bean would flip some? Like, I think
I don't want
is in a real position to get traded.
I'll tell you why I say that is because, and call me crazy, but with the recent string of injuries, I'm just saying, like, let's hold on a minute. Like, knock on wood. That's the last place I want to see an injury, right? I would just say, look, I think we got enough. We got some good picks now. If you're talking about flipping somebody for a 3rd round pick or better, which I don't think you can.
No, I don't think so.
Right. But let's stay the course here. Like, I
just don't think
Alec Anderson
spots for all these guys.
Well, you better make some damn spots.
Played okay.
Listen, Vandermark's a keeper. I say if there's someone that you have to get rid of, it's La'el Collins. Like, give me the younger, cheaper guys. Said Van Pran-Granger is a stud. If you ask me.
I watched Tylen Grable because you talked so highly of him after last week. I thought he played really well.
Yep.
I mean, I really think that they've got I would probably say 12 guys that I would keep on this list. And you're not keeping any more than 10.
Yeah, you're going to keep 10. You're going to keep 10.
So, like, you better, I mean, you can hope that they make it to the practice squad, but
I'll tell you what. I'm going to tell you the two that are not going to make it. Will Clapp and La'el Collins. You keep the rest of them. Travis Clayton, you're going to put on the practice squad.
You're keeping Grable and Van Pran-Granger?
Absolutely.
Okay. I mean, I just feel like if you trade La'el Collins or Will Clapp for a 5th round pick, I'm not going to be angry at you.
I don't think there's a team out there that's going to take La'el Collins for a 5th round pick.
I don't think La'el Collins, but I think somebody will take Will Clapp for a 5th round pick.
If someone wants to take Will Clapp for a 5th, I'd send his butt out to yesterday. Give me a 5th for Will Clapp.
Listen, Bean has done this before,
He has.
with offensive line depth. I just,
I mean, it'd be great.
Now let's talk about the bad part of the offensive line, if you don't mind me transitioning here. I'm worried about the guards, dog.
We talked about guard being, well, I'm not worried about O'Cyrus Torrence, but I am worried about left guard.
Yes, but let me just say real quick before we move off O'Cyrus Torrence, it hasn't been pretty. Now, that doesn't mean I'm worried about him. He put in a full season. And like I said with James Cook, I trust what I saw last season more than I trust what I'm seeing in the preseason. But it hasn't been great, in my opinion.
Its timing hasn't been clean.
Okay. There's
you
a couple
disagree.
Just missed blocks, dog.
Yeah.
And it has led to Mitch Trubisky looking like an idiot a couple of times.
Well, I'm looking like, listen.
I'm just saying. But I agree with you about O'Cyrus. I'm not worried in the long term.
Yeah. I still feel like this. Cedric Van Pran-Granger should be the center, and McGovern should be at left guard. I still don't understand why Bean.
Him or Anderson. Like, I think they both have played better. Now, granted, different level of competition. but I think they both have played better than Edwards. Like Edwards does not look good.
Yeah. Do you feel like this is I would rather have Cedric Van Paren Granger play center over Alec Anderson just because one, that's a 5th round pick. Number two, the pedigree, the athleticism. I think he's better suited. I think Alec Anderson is extremely versatile. I think he could do so. I think he's the first guy off the bench at guard and center, right? That's what you want to see.
He's your interior guy, yeah.
And I'm not in the rooms. I don't know if it's, well, Cedric Van Paren Granger's a rookie. We kind of, and we promised Connor McGovern, that he's going to play center. And I understand the dude wants to play center. He calls it home. He said that this offseason. But if you played your best season in NFL at guard last season, I don't see why you change it. And that was the plan. Apparently, that was something that they talked about when they signed the guy for $18-19 million contract, was that he was gonna transition to center. So I don't know, man. Like, your butt's playing left guard. You played so well there. Why would you? I don't know, man.
I mean, I think you feel it out for a couple weeks. You gotta convince him that the problem isn't him playing center,
right?
Which it hasn't really been. I mean, there were rumblings in camp that he was struggling with the snap. Looks like that's fine. So you got to convince him that the problem's not him, that you think the most effective lineup is with him at guard, not with him at center, which might be hard to convince him. But yeah, I haven't loved the way that Edwards has looked. And
that's fair.
Here's the thing, when you have problems on both sides of the center, it becomes very noticeable. You know what I mean?
Right.
So like I said, I'm not as worried about O'Cyrus Torrence in the long run, but I just think and listen, again, level of competition matters. The guys that are playing later in the game are playing against guys that are playing later in the game. So that's
right.
The other thing is with Ben DiNucci at quarterback, they knew they only had so many plays. So they looked at that offensive line and they said, move forward and we'll run plays all day long. And I think any offensive line gets a little bit of juice when you do that. And those guys looked like they had plenty of juice. They were running people over.
Right.
There were huge holes. The running backs were hitting them. I mean, It felt good. I really wish they would have put up a touchdown. Davis Springs, that run that was his longest run of the night. That was like
19-yard run.
Yards. Yeah, and if he could have just stayed on his feet and gotten in the end zone, I think it would have felt really, really good for that Bills offense. So, listen, I'm not saying it's a problem yet. I'm saying it might be a problem and that you got to keep an eye on it.
I would say this. I agree with your sentiments about the offensive line. But the running backs, like you said, look great. Now, James Cook, man, I'm a big James Cook fan. I think, those of you who've been listening to me for a while, I'll preach till I'm blue in the face about what I think of James Cook. He's a good running back. I don't think he's an elite running back. I say he's good. But there's some things about James Cook that are frustrating. And it's the dancing behind the line of scrimmage reminds me of CJ Spiller. See the hole, hit the hole, and just go. Like, I don't need you to try to set up every defensive, lineman or linebacker. Like, I get that you have some wiggle, you got some speed. Leverage that speed and run north and south. Like, here's the difference. When you look at James Cook running the ball and what Ray Davis did in that game, complete polar opposites, because you see quick step, first step, Ray Davis is going downhill and he don't care.
And
right.
And that's what your coaches want to see, and that's what your offensive line wants to see, right? It just makes it easier on everybody. Like, put the foot in the ground and go. Don't dance. With James Cook, it's almost overconfidence, right? Like, it's almost, I know what this looks like. I can set up this block. I can do that. And it's like, no, man, just go.
I don't need him.
So, yeah, I mean, I haven't loved what he's been doing, but I think running back in particular is very much a rhythm. And I think he's got plenty of time to find it, of course. And until then, if you need to smash some mouths with Ray Davis, then go ahead. That's
Right.
it's one of the few positions that, if you give all three of whoever your game day roster running backs are touches, I don't care. That's fine with me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think Ray Davis and his stock, in my opinion, I hope the Bills coaches are seeing this as well, but I think you got to say, okay, like we can put more on this kid's plate. I think he's ready. He's ready. I think he's going to have a bigger role than I think a lot of us anticipate. I think he's your best, pass blocking running back as of right now. I would even say his hands are better than James Cook's right now. James Cook, we talk about in training camp, has been having the dropsies. Now you talk about route running from a running back, I would say James Cook all day. But I mean, he may not, Ray Davis may not do everything great, but he's doing a lot of things good. And I think that means something. Continuity, he's going to have to earn that and get there. But I think just him being reliable, north and south, no frills. When you need 3, he's going to get you 4 yards. I feel like he's that kind of running back.
So I agree with you. It was inspiring the way that he ran, but I also don't want to leave behind Darrynton Evans and Frank Gore Jr. Like I really thought all 4 of the running backs played well, and the last 3 played great, to be honest with you. So
I don't think those guys have a spot on the 53. Yes, you're right. They did play well. I think you keep Frank Gore Jr. On the practice squad and see, the thing with Frank Gore Jr., he's small and he's unathletic, NFL wise. Darrynton Evans was a 3rd round pick out of Appalachian State. And he had a really good preseason with the Bills the last time he was here. I like his game. Well, I mean, we'll see. I think, running back 4, maybe, probably not. Reggie Gilliam wasn't on the roster, but
listen, we weren't expecting Ty Johnson to get meaningful snaps last year either, right?
Yeah, correct.
So, to have one of these guys on your practice squad and feel good about them, I think is important.
Yeah, no, I think it matters. It definitely matters. While we're at it, since we're talking about members of the rookie class, let's talk about Keon Coleman. There was a lot of chatter on the X, okay, about the potential touchdown that he could have had. Now, I want to ask you a question, and I'll tell you what I think after you answer the question.
That sounds like a setup.
It kind of is. And if you answer this wrong, I'm going to be pissed at you. So make sure you answer it right. You know how like on a test, they say, well, there's no wrong answer, right? Mm-hmm. Oh, there's a wrong answer here. So just FYI, pressure's on. All right. Do you think that Keon Coleman's no catch was a business decision? Or do you think that he didn't have it was an uncatchable pass by Mitchell Trubisky?
Yes.
To what?
Yes. To both. I really do think it was both. I think if he would have laid out, he could have gotten it. I think it was out of reach for him if he was just keeping stride running. He's going to tell you that he should have caught it. I don't want my receiver to say anything else, right? Like he made the comments today that it's one he's got to come up with. That's fine. That's what I want you to say. But I think he went for it, got a hand on it, didn't think he can get it completely, and was like, I need to protect myself now. And I don't mind that thought process as long as it's not in a playoff game. You know what I mean?
Right. I think
he made an effort at it. Like
he kind of T-Rex armed that thing, but
I don't even think it was T-Rex. Like if you go and you slow it down, he's got his arm fully extended and the hand on the ball, it's just far enough away that he can't grab it. And then immediately after that, he T-Rexes. So he doesn't stay extended trying to catch it for as long as he could have, but he's thinking to himself, I can't get it. Okay, protect myself now. And I don't mind that.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you. first of all, I mean, you got to throw a better ball, Mitch. I mean, that's just.
Yeah. I was
You
going to
gotta
say, it's
throw
a
a better
problem I
ball.
don't think we're going to have in the regular season because Josh
Right.
isn't going to throw a hospital pass like that.
Like, if I'm Keon Coleman, I'll be honest. I'm pulling up on that too. I'm pulling up on that because
In the preseason, yeah.
people are like, well, there was 5 yards of depth between that safety and Keon. Man, do you know how fast these guys are moving? You
Towards
don't.
each other.
Yeah, it's so hard in that moment. Like, if we're looking at still shots and slow frames, like you gotta like relax. You gotta relax. And should he have caught it? He could have. I think he could have caught it, but I'm not trying to see him get his head blown apart with a concussion or whatever from a safety that's barreling down. I'm good. Like, save it for the regular season, bro.
That throw was late and it was outside.
Late.
And like we talked about Mitch Trubisky already, but that throw was late and it was outside. He made an effort at it. I don't blame him for not getting it. I don't think it's a huge deal. I also don't think it's a problem that we're going to have in the regular season because Josh either throws that on time or drills it into his chest where the ball catch. I mean, he said it. Do you remember? Did you hear him talking about that throw he made 4 years ago to hair guy, Kumaro?
Yeah. Oh, in Denver.
Yeah, and he's like, the ball caught him because I threw it so hard. That is exactly what would happen to Keon Coleman.
Right.
Like, Josh is going to drill that ball into his chest so hard, it's going to stick between his 2 shoulder pad plates. So,
yeah,
like, don't worry about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I think, fans are wanting. It's hard to, we're going to talk about this other receiver here in a little bit, but seeing receivers around the league make plays, and you're looking at Keon, and he's had 3 red zone targets, and they haven't looked good. I am banking on. I'm not saying he's going to have a stellar rookie campaign, but what I am banking on is that he's going to have a good season. This is a guy to me that's going to have between 6 to 8 touchdowns and, probably, I don't know, 600-700 yards. I think that's what he's going to provide this year. But we'll see. I think you make a good point about Josh and putting him in the best positions to succeed. I think we've seen Josh has a great history of putting wide receivers in the best positions to make plays. And I don't think that'll be any different with Keon Coleman. So we say all that to say, relax. It's going to be okay. Like, Keon is going to be fine. Now we do want to
worried about in the wide receiver room. That's like
it ain't him. They're and it's not Khalil Shakir. The rest of them, and not Dalton Kincaid, he's tight end. But the rest of them, I'm a little worried about. I'm a little worried. Curtis Samuel's here. He's already injured. Matt Collins, what have you done for me? Like, I understand, this whole I don't wear shoes and shit. Like, that better show up on the like. I need you to do something on the field. I can care less if you wear shoes, if you wear sandals.
Okay. He hasn't been great. He's been okay.
MVS, I'd say release his ass. I listen, man. I didn't like, huh?
I can't now. Now that he's hurt,
like him. I didn't like him in Kansas City. I didn't like him in Green Bay. I didn't like him in Kansas City, and I don't like him in Buffalo. I don't think the Bills should have signed him. Send a 3rd round pick to the Commanders for what's his name? Slot wide receiver Jahan Dotson. Give me Dotson. Do something.
I don't think you're going to see any moves.
No, they're not. They're not going to do anything.
See how bad the MVS situation is.
He's just, and it's like he has this attitude, like he's just kept. I'm like, bro, I'm over it, dog. I'm over the MVS experience. We haven't even started the season yet, man. I just get bad vibes. I don't know about you. I haven't met the guy, but I just like, man, everything you read and it's just not inspiring. And there's nothing about his game that says, okay, like I'm just not there with him yet. So, it looks like we ran through some of our Bills topics. We do have a few things at the end of the show. This is the segment where we go around the league. We talk about the latest headlines and things that from different teams. This is a fun part of the show. And for those of you guys out there who maybe you're kind of figuring out, NFL football and stuff like that, or there's a team that you like, but you're listening to this because we're just so cool and badass. Look, I totally get it. But this is the Round the League segment. So our first topic is Gardner Minshew. Mr. Gardner is the quarterback for the Las Vegas Raiders. How's that hit you?
I mean, people are real hard on him. You got to know what he is, right?
Because he wears jorts.
That's fair. Yeah, absolutely. The mullet is working too, I think he's a competent quarterback is how I would put it. And you saw last year in Indy what he can accomplish with a really talented team. And I've heard a couple people say that I trust say, the Raiders have maybe more blue chip players than anybody in the league. Max Crosby, Devontae Adams. They think Brock Bowers is going to be one of those guys.
He is one of those guys.
Well, I mean, so having that much talent on a team, what they said is that they're missing that middle depth, right? Like their average starter is not very good in comparison to the regular NFL starter. But, I think in this AFC, it's going to be tough for a team like that to make any noise. If that team was in like the NFC, you could say Gardner Minshew can maybe lead them to a 9-8 playoff berth or something like that. Like he almost did.
Like if he was in the NFC South. NFC South, he's getting the playoffs.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think he gets a little bit too much trash talked about him because it's hard to be a competent starter in the NFL. I think that deserves a little bit of credit, but it was the other quarterback that was named that was the bigger story to me. Jayden Daniels.
Yeah. Jayden Daniels,
you sound hyped for that. Listen to you.
Listen, dude. Let the rookie play. Let the man play. Like it's the Commanders. Like they have. Listen, man. If you are, I don't know, let's say the Chiefs or teams with a good track record of grooming quarterbacks, okay, I give you the right away all day. But if you are the Commanders, where you haven't shown me what a competent quarterback has looked like since Kirk Cousins, get out of my face. And so you drafted this guy in Jayden Daniels, okay, which great, good for you. New management, Magic Johnson, all those guys. You got him pretty high in this draft. Let the guy play. Just let him. You're the starter, bro. Let him play and figure it out, and get him the weapons that he needs after this season. I mean, he's got Scary Terry, and he's got some guys over there, right? That can make some plays. But I'd say if he's showing that he's at least he's not a sitting duck quarterback. He's a mobile quarterback with a strong arm. I don't know in terms of how he sees the field, right? I mean, that's to be, he's going to have to learn that art as he goes along. But man, I'm just happy for competent quarterback play in the NFC and especially the NFC East.
Yeah, that's a great point because I can't remember who I was having this discussion with the other day, but it was like name your top NFC quarterbacks, and I was like, Jalen Hurts.
Matt Stafford,
Purdy, Matt Stafford, Dak Prescott. I mean, I don't like the names we're getting into here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, okay. Well, we'll see. Maybe Jayden Daniels can be that guy. So,
yeah. I don't know, man. I maybe he turns out to be a franchise quarterback. I'm just happy that from a fan perspective, we've been here when the Bills drafted Josh Allen. We've seen this quarterback thing manifest itself and turn out well for us. I'm excited for the Commander fans that they got something to root for, even though their team might not be playoff caliber just yet. But they got, when they go and sit down and watch a game, they got something to root for. So I mean, from a fan perspective, I think, I think that's an awesome place, a fun place to be in, and hopefully it pans out for them. Moving on to Tua Tagovailoa, Miami Dolphins quarterback, was on a recent interview and was asked about I don't know how the question was coined, the term, so I'm paraphrasing, but basically the experience that he had as a player with Brian Flores or the previous coaching regime. And Tua basically was saying, like, it's like being told that you're trash by one, and it goes, it affects your mental ability. And then being told, with a totally new coaching staff who believes in you, and gives you the tools to succeed, and say, I think he mentioned, he said that you are a great fit for this system. Whereas, with Brian Flores, first of all, I don't know if you guys remember the controversy with Tua and Brian Flores, where I don't even the owner was going after Tom Brady, Deshaun Watson. They did not want Tua. They didn't want him. They were like, we're done with him.
Played Ryan Fitzpatrick over him.
Played Ryan Fitzpatrick over him and killed that guy's confidence. And then, new regime, same owner, but new regime. I guess, he told Steve, I think it was his name, Stephen Jones. I'm not sure what his name. He's a Michigan alum, but basically, hey, I could turn Tua into something, and look at what he turned into. I still think Tua's an average quarterback, but he's paid. And listen, I don't think Tua's going to win you a game, but I don't think he's going to lose you a game either. I think he's average at best, a little maybe above average if you're, feeling froggy. But man, like, what are your thoughts on the comments that he made about Brian Flores?
So first of all, I just want to say this because, I like Mike McDaniel a lot. I think he's a good coach. I like his personality. He's from Colorado, which is where I'm from, so respect. But I think he gets a lot more credit because he's on the offensive side of the ball. And I don't remember who tweeted this out, but I saw this on Twitter and I just pulled it up to look and double check. The Miami Dolphins in Brian Flores' last 2 years won 19 games. The Miami Dolphins in Mike McDaniel's first 2 years won 20 games. They were 10-6 and 9-8 in the last year under Flores. They were at 9-8 and 11-6 in the first 2 years under McDaniel. So, like, I get it. There's a whole different vibe around that team now.
Right.
And it feels like maybe they're a contender. It's a whole lot more positive. But, like, let's take a look at the overall, actually what we're seeing on the field. You know what I mean? Now, to what Tua said, I am incredibly sympathetic to it. I work with a guy who played under a Bill Belichick disciple, Josh McDaniels, who was the same way as Brian Flores. And he has said more than one time, like, it is a negative poop train flowing into your mouth every day. Like, they start off the day with a cut reel of your mistakes from the day before, and they ream you for them. And then you go out to practice, you practice again, you watch the tape, and they end the day with all the mistakes that you made in the meeting room. And it's just, he's like, it's constant belittling. It's beyond just take hard coaching. It's like Tua said, you're getting told that you suck all the time. And yeah, I think a lot of people that would work on their confidence, right? I think there are few who can take that much negativity and turn it into positivity, and good for those people. But I don't blame Tua for saying, like, God, this is terrible. And it's a situation I would have wanted out of, especially when then the person that you move on to, and you could have seen this in the in-season Hard Knocks, or if you watch things with Mike McDaniel, I mean, just blooming positivity, right? And so when you go from the negative all the time to the positive all the time, it makes that dichotomy makes what you went through before even worse than it already was, because now you have the most positive of positive people. So I don't know. I mean, Brian Flores stood up and said hey, listen, I was different back then. I made some mistakes, but I think Tua and I have a good relationship, blah, blah, blah.
I think
What are you
that's
going to do?
BS. I think it's BS. Tua, he didn't even call him by he didn't even say Brian Flores by name. And like I get, hard coaching. Like, some people like that and need that. But like the constant belittling, I don't know whose psyche that works well for. That's not the majority. And it's not relevant to today's time and the way people are today. Like you just can't do that. It's just inexcusable. Like I get pointing out somebody's mistakes, showing them how to correct it, you know, whatever. But
I don't even think Brian Flores is a boomer, but it's just like that's how you coached in 1950. You know what I mean?
right.
Right? Like it's just not how you do it now. And Belichick got it to work into this generation. So then you had a bunch of his disciples go out and think that they could act the same way, and you can't.
You just
You
can't.
can't.
Nope. Be you, man. Be you. Um, Man, did you see the Kansas City Chiefs game?
No, so no, I saw you put this on here, and I did not. That is one of the games I did not watch. And so you said Worthy. I mean, don't fear bunker me here now.
I'm
Don't
not
be
gonna
doing
fear
that.
bunker you, but I'm gonna let you know that Worthy is a problem. He's a problem. I mean, listen, and this is the preseason, okay? But Worthy's obviously he's playing with the first team offense, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce. We know the deal. But they used him in a lot of ways
We
out of the
knew that.
backfield. Listen, but I'm just telling you though, like we knew that because that's what Andy Reid does. But to see that speed again, it kind of is reminiscent of how they use Tyreek Hill, and you see him in the same plays that they use Tyreek in, and it just gives me the heebie-jeebies watching Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce beat up on the Bills. And because we had a slow ass secondary that couldn't keep up. Now, Tyreek wasn't the cause that, he never really, destroyed the Bills, but when he was on the field, he definitely helped open up things for other people. Now, and I see Xavier Worthy, who caught a touchdown pass in this game, just blew. He is a deep crosser. Man, defense had no answer for him. It's scary, dog. I'm just
I'll have
telling
to
you,
go
it's
back and
scary.
watch.
Go back and watch it. It's scary.
I'll have to go back and watch it, but
There's no but.
there is a but. There is a but. It's Patrick Mahomes. It does not matter who you put catching passes from him.
Oh, it does. Look at last year. It does.
Right. You look at them win the Super Bowl.
Yeah. You still have Travis Kelce.
But I'm just saying, the dude's a witch. So, like, yeah, of course he's going to make Xavier Worthy look good. And he's got one of the, like, it's the Wizard of Oz and the Witch together. Like, it is Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. Like, yes, they are going to find ways to maximize his strength and make him look good. And on the plays where he's not very good, what's going to happen is they're going to find another solution. Patrick Mahomes is going to find another guy open, and you're not even going to realize that Xavier Worthy wasn't good on that play. So, listen, he's going to be good there. You don't have that kind of speed.
You're coming in here with this, like, you see, you're trying to be a man of the people tonight and try to, tell Bills Mafia that everything's okay. And I'm telling you, for a team that has a hard time beating the Chiefs in the postseason, Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy are going to cause problems for the Buffalo Bills. Rashee Rice in year 2. I mean, they're going to cause problems. They're going to cause problems.
I hear you. But when weren't the Chiefs going to cause the Bills problems?
Well, it's more problems now with a
weakened
Bills secondary.
Focus on winning your division. Focus on playing your guys.
Okay, Sean.
I'm serious.
Like, relax.
That is the number one thing that matters.
Get the number 1 seed. That alone has been the crippling thing for the Buffalo Bills past 3 seasons. They got to figure out
is finish.
You got to do that.
Finish the regular season ahead of the Chiefs,
and then you're good.
Number 1 seed.
Got to. That's the only way.
win
Yep.
the division, finish ahead of the Chiefs, get the number 1 seed.
So you see
what I
them
mean?
later. You see
And-
them later.
And give 2 other playoff teams a chance to knock them out.
Yep.
Thanks for your help
That's the
last year,
ticket.
Miami Dolphins.
That's the ticket.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So let the Houston Texans take care of the Kansas City Chiefs this year.
Yeah.
And we'll figure it out from there. You know what I mean?
Chip away at them, like whatever you got to do. And then, hopefully they're battered and just
Here's the thing though.
at
Here's the thing that does bother me, because this is something that you can control.
let's hear it.
In the years since they've let Tyreek Hill go, how many different swings have we talked about the Kansas City Chiefs taking at fixing their wide receiver room? Tony, MVS, Rashid Rice, Hollywood Brown, Xavier Worthy. I'm sure there's another 1 or 2 I can name.
Sterling Moore.
5 or 6, yeah. 5 or 6 swings
Premium
at trying to fix
and
it.
assets.
The Bills had a major wide receiver problem this year. Going after MVS now is not the same as going after the MVS back then.
Right.
How many swings did they take at fixing their wide receiver room?
The Chiefs or the Bills?
The Bills.
Not enough.
Knowing they had a problem this year. They took 2.
Not enough.
Right. Not enough. Not enough. You drafted Khalil Shakir in the 5th round. Do you want to tell me how he didn't end up with a 5th round wide receiver?
The fact that they didn't double dip this year blows my mind.
Your big so your 2 swings that you took are Coleman and Samuel in my estimation, right? And oh man, that is uninspiring. And there's still time. You got cuts coming up. Maybe you find somebody. Hunter Renfrow, inexplicably to me, is still out there. I don't know how that happened. He's a little bit of a clone of a skill set you already have, but I commend the Chiefs for taking the swings, and I'm a little bit on this Bills podcast quietly amongst each other, just a little bit disappointed in how the Bills handled that.
Yeah, I mean, look, you could be a fan of Brandon Beane, but saying, hey, I feel like we could have done a better job at securing talent for Josh Allen. I feel like the Bills are maybe a year to 2 years, in terms of how the Chiefs have built, Brett Veach built their team. I feel like the Bills are a couple years behind them, so the Chiefs kind of got rid of Tyreek Hill. They went through this thing, younger and cheaper. They wanted to get better at certain positions. So they let Tyreek go. They fixed their whole secondary. I feel like the Bills are at the stage where they're trying to address their secondary with Cole Bishop, sort out, I don't even think Keon Coleman was it's a 2nd round pick, but I don't think it's you're actually going for it. They're not. They haven't yet. I think maybe that comes next season.
You can't count Xavier Worthy.
Well, Xavier Worthy was a 1st round pick. Rashid Rice 2nd round pick. I'm just saying.
If you don't count Coleman, then you can't count those for the Chiefs.
No, I'm counting Coleman, but what I'm saying is it's not a move that you say the Bills are resetting the table at the position. I think he's an added piece. I still think wide receiver 1 is yet to come next offseason or through the draft. Rather,
all I'm going to say about that is 5/21/96. 5/21/96. That is Joshua Allen's birthday. It means he is 28 years old and smack dab in the middle of his prime. You're telling me, well, we'll just throw away a year and get him a number 1 wide receiver next year?
That's what they're doing. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me that's not what they're doing.
Here's the only hope that I can tell you that you're wrong. Jamar Chase doesn't have a contract yet. CeeDee Lamb doesn't have a contract yet. And I don't like him as much, but Brandon Ayuk doesn't have a contract yet. So
yeah,
that's
segue into the next topic. Wide receivers holding out. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it. Lamb, Chase, Ayuk. Do we see the Bills And you know what? We should throw T. Higgins in there too.
Oh,
T.
I think
Higgins,
that's a different level.
but still, I think it's relevant to the
I think it's
topic.
relevant, but I think it's a different level.
What do you mean?
I think there are very distinct tiers here.
Oh, okay. He's second level compared to these guys.
I think he's so. I think there's 3 tiers here. I think Lamb is clearly on a level of his own.
Ooh, over Chase?
And I like
I think they're the same tier.
Chase, but I think Lamb is clearly on a level of his own, and then Ja'Marr Chase, and then on a different level, Ayuk and Higgins.
And what is the one thing they all have in common?
That I'd take any of them on the Bills.
It's the contract situation. If I'd say Ja'Marr Chase is better than CeeDee Lamb, but that's just me. But
go on.
Tomato.
Listen, we are just strapped for time here. So why don't you tell us why you think real quickly one is better than the other?
I just think that Ja'Marr Chase has the full complement to his skill set. I would say, in terms of route running, give me Ja'Marr Chase over CeeDee Lamb. Route running.
Okay.
I do think CeeDee Lamb has shown to be more consistent. I think he's a better separator than Chase. I think Ayuk probably, in terms of route running, I think Ayuk might have, I don't know, man. He's on the same, I think in terms of route running, he's on the same tier. Separation. It's hard to project Ayuk just because of the scheme that he plays in. Like, I don't know. It's like, show me. Show me somewhere else.
Separator like the other two. He is not.
Show me this somewhere else, where you don't have to worry about George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, and that scheme, right?
Yeah, I don't think
that benefits him a lot.
That's not to say like this is like when we get into the MVP conversation and people are like, "Oh, you're saying Lamar sucks because you think Josh Allen should win." Like, no, dog. He's still great, right? Like Ayuk is still great. I just don't think he's on the same level as Lamb or Ja'Marr Chase. But so then let me ask you this: if we're just, I mean, you can even do it with Ayuk if you want to, but who's got the best quarterback?
Joe Burrow. It's
right. Ja'Marr Chase, right? And who's got the best second wide receiver?
The Bengals. T. Higgins.
Ja'Marr Chase, right? And if you put Ayuk in there, it's not true, but who's got the better tight end? Or had the better tight end?
Well, it's Brandon Ayuk.
But yeah, but if you take Ayuk out between Lamb and Chase, who's got the better tight end?
Right. Ooh, I'd say Lamb. I would say
now, but I'm saying before.
Yeah.
In years past, it's been the Bengals.
Yeah. And that's not saying much.
But I say it all only to say that Lamb has been a better wide receiver marginally than Chase. I would love to actually look at those numbers. I think he's been statistically better than Ja'Marr Chase with a worse quarterback, a worse number 2 wide receiver, a worse tight end, definitely a better offensive line than Chase has. Yeah, that's why I like CeeDee Lamb better.
So CeeDee Lamb last season, 135 catches, 1,700 yards, 13 yards per reception, 12 touchdowns. 2022, just 1,359, 107 catches, 9 touchdowns. So the past 2 years, he's been amazing.
Okay,
and then
so
you
I
look
got Chase here. Here. Last year, Chase was 100 catches for 1,216 yards and 7 touchdowns. And then 2 years ago, it was 87 catches for 1,046 yards and 9 touchdowns. Right? So his rookie year was better than that. So his rookie year was 81 catches, 1,455 yards and 13 touchdowns. Now he did lose his quarterback.
He did lose his quarterback, and he's had injuries. Like, that's the thing about Ja'Marr Chase. I mean, he just gets hurt.
But it sounds like Lamb's numbers have been better across the board
last season. The last 2 seasons, yeah.
Yeah, last 2 seasons. Well, I mean, across the board, though. You know what I mean? And that's with Dak Prescott throwing him the ball, who I don't think is trash, but I also don't think is great. And a second wide receiver who is, God, who's their second wide receiver this year?
Who?
I guess last year.
The Cowboys?
Yeah.
It was the
Cooks, wasn't
speedster,
it?
Brandon Cooks.
Yeah, Cooks. Who's better, Cooks or T. Higgins? I mean, come on, right?
T. Higgins, right? Yeah.
So yeah, so that's why I like Lamb better, because
No, that's fair.
even though his statistics are marginally better, I think he's doing it with less around him than Ja'Marr Chase is.
And there's a lot of people that will argue and agree with you. I just like Ja'Marr Chase's skill set a lot. So I mean, I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, you know, like the Bengals are notoriously, historically bad at contracts. You know, you had Chad Ochocinco speaking up, talking about, you know, well, if he doesn't get a deal, I don't know if it's going to get done this year. I mean, you see what they paid Burrow, good for them. They did do the right thing there. But T. Higgins is wanting a deal. Ja'Marr Chase is wanting, and we knew this was coming. Was coming. Like, it's cute when you guys are all on rookie deals and, you know, you weren't paying a quarterback, but that Burrow contract, now the bills come due and you got to figure it out. You got to make some tough decisions. So I don't know, man. We'll see. He might be the next receiver asking for a trade.
Here's the other thing too, which I think is kind of crazy. He's got 2 years left on his deal.
Right.
The other two only have one. Ayuk's got one. Lamb's got one. Chase has 2 years left on his deal. So if he's going to be real serious about this and not play unless he gets a new contract, we could be in like a Le'Veon Bell type situation, and that could go real poorly. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, if you're a team trading for Ja'Marr Chase, I mean, you're going to have to give up a buttload of assets, and now you got to pay him. And you're talking, if Justin Jefferson got what, 35 million a year, 40 million a year, I'm not sure the exact numbers on the Justin Jefferson deal. You know, Ja'Marr Chase is going to be wanting the same thing. CeeDee Lamb is going to be wanting. So I mean, it's just a bad time. One or if not both of those guys, they're going to get paid eventually. But it's like, who goes first? I think that's the thing. You know,
I think because Jefferson went first, it doesn't matter who goes first, because they'll butt those contracts right up against Jefferson, but I don't think they'll outpace him.
Right. Unless, you know, there's a desperate team that, let's say, you know, the Carolina Panthers, you know, sold the farm even more and got one of these guys for their young quarterback and say, you know, we'll pay you, we'll leave a check on the table without any numbers on it. You fill it in yourself. Like, I don't know, man. We've seen crazier things.
I don't know about that.
We've seen crazier things, man. I don't see the Bills being in contention for any of these guys.
Maybe next year.
Maybe next year. They're gonna have to. They may be in line for a pass rusher or a wide receiver. I would say go draft one. Go draft a
get out of
receiver.
The defensive line in the draft. Goodness.
But that's where they hang. That's what they think. That's what the Bills think. I guarantee you, if we had a chance to look at Brandon Beane's priority list, defensive end's probably high on that list.
Not if he plays Greg Rousseau, it's not. What a way to circle back and end it how we started.
Hey, yeah, you know,
if Groot can dominate and he wants to give him a big old contract and say you're my pass rusher, then
so be it. I mean, Groot's going to get his money. Like, pay him. He's deserving of it. You come out this year, you have, you know, a double-digit sack season, and you're consistently and you dominate. Bring up the Brinks truck and pay the man. But I still think, you know, defensive end out next to him. I think it's
you got your $8 million Epinesa, dog. Like that might.
He's got to show up. He's got to show up.
I know, but but that's the level that you're talking about. I don't think they pay another guy. I think it's your $8 million Leonard Floyd or your $8 million Epinesa or your $8 million Baron Browning coming out. You know what I mean? Like
I'll take him.
oh, I'd love it. Dude, I tell the
On the
Broncos all the
Bills?
time. Nobody will listen to me. I think they got a mean pass rush this year, and if they're as good as I think they're going to be, they could make some noise.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah. Topic for another day.
Yeah.
Topic for another day. We do have a Bills game this Saturday against Carolina Panthers. Real quick, let's talk before we end the show here. What are we looking for? I have to say, one, like the starters aren't playing. McDermott has come out and said no starters are playing, but I definitely want to see encore performances from Joe Andreessen and Ray Davis.
I don't want to know a single name that plays in this football game.
Ben DiNucci, can he get 5 pass attempts? I mean, him and Anthony Brown are going to have to.
Maybe not even DiNucci. Just put the new guy in there. Like
he's going to get destroyed.
I'm fine.
That's bruh. You go put that man out
to
get slaughtered. Is what you're doing. What you're going to do.
To know a single name that is on the field. No, I mean, listen. I think you got to be real careful, and anybody that you think could get meaningful snaps during the regular season, you got to put in bubble wrap. They just have too many injuries right now. You cannot afford to have somebody get hurt even closer to the regular season than you have been. I've said before, you have the 3-week period. Well, that's if you take this week off. It's 3 weeks. So I want them to take this week off. If you tell me that you want Joe Andreessen to play and you want I'm going to mess up his name again, Daquan Hardy to play, which I thought he looked real good at outside corner. I was shocked he was getting outside corner reps, and not only did he get them, but he looked good out there. I liked his aggressiveness on returns. So if you want those guys to play, of course. Grable, Van Pran, Granger, fine. And those guys might be on your 53 and playing, but I'm saying anybody who's going to get meaningful snaps, like I better not see Taylor Rapp out there. You know what I mean? I better not see, any Hamlin, Edwards, maybe Bishop, but like I better not see any of those guys out there. You know what I mean? That's really my big takeaway. I would have loved to have another game of tape on a bunch of those guys and another game for them to figure out. They still don't know who's going to call the signals during the regular season. You know what I mean? I would love to have them have another game of trying to put that together, but I just don't think it's worth it. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of, I like to see these reserves from the offensive line just stringing another good performance together. Cedric Van Pran Granger, like, man, do something to where they're like, yo, can you be the starter? Like, that would be like optimal for me because I still feel like Connor McGovern should be guard. I like to see Ray Davis run the football. I just think it's fun to watch him run the football. I think he's got some serious potential. And then Daquan Hardy at corner. I feel like he's a surprising guy. I mean, I liked him coming out of Penn State. Is a guy that I've got to watch a lot of. He's a good corner. He's going to be a really good nickel corner. Not like Taron Johnson good, but he has a skill set that you can't just be like, oh yeah, it's just Daquan Hardy. Like he's going to make his name known.
I liked him on the outside. I was surprised.
Yeah,
I liked him playing boundary corner, but I did. I liked his aggressiveness. Yeah, you might get burned from time to time, but I thought he covered up real well. He went one-on-one with Pickens that one time. Like,
great rep.
I think I like him a lot. We didn't get a chance to talk about it, so I'll give you your flowers here now, an hour and a half in. But I finally saw what you have been preaching about Javon Solomon. I'll give you your credit. 56 is playing very well.
Dog. He's a dog.
He's a dog. And I love the depth ends you have with him and Kingsley. Like I think that's a good spot to be in.
I just got to see it in regular season, right? But that blank canvas that you have in Javon Solomon, like he's toolsy, And I love
But you're
that.
talking
30
about
defense.
like a really limited number of reps. And I don't
Right.
know. I don't know if he can do what you want him to do in that limited number of reps.
Right. I think listen, let's get him some run in the regular season. Let's do that.
I'm not saying no. I also liked so Dwayne Carter on PFF got a pretty brutal grade. And I thought he was okay. Like he ended up on the ground more times than I would have wanted him to. But I thought part of the reason that Joe Andreessen played so well was because yeah, Dwayne Carter's in there eating up blockers.
Yeah.
So if you're asking me what I want to see, that's the kind of stuff that I'm watching, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's going to be, I mean, you know, we talk shit about, you know, like not having to watch the game, but we're going to be glued to the TV. And we're going to be looking to see like some of these guys, you know, chase a position on this squad. I like to see young guys shine, and I hope we you know, I don't know if Javon Solomon's going to play, but I would like to see some of these guys like do well. You know what I mean? Like, give me something to be happy about. That's what I'm looking for. So,
yeah, I mean, I want to see a lot of Deion Kane and Trey McKitty and right, like
God, yeah,
right.
we're gonna see a lot of that.
I want to see a lot of that. So,
all right, man. Well, that'll do for episode 2 here on intentional grounding in our new home. Listen, you know, we're going to be here all season long. We're going to be back here next Tuesday with another episode. Hopefully we'll have some good news to report on. But man, wherever you guys are, whether if you're in the backyard or across the pond, man, you guys have a fantastic week. This is Intentional Grounding Podcast. And guess what, man? We up out of here. Go Bills.
Go Bills.